and welcome to TalkFCB, and welcome back here to the channel, guys. A Barcelona News Round-Up coming up today, and it does involve some very, very pressing topics, because in today's video, we are going to be discussing Lionel Messi and his potential injury problem. Will he be fit to face Mallorca there in the opening game after football returns next week? We're also going to be talking about Manchester City's Eric Garcia, the former Barcelona youth player, who may be about to make a return to the club. And we're also going to be talking about Barcelona's wage bill and the fact the board want to make further cuts to the player wages and exactly how that's gone down. It's all coming up in today's video. Important stuff. Let's do it. But if we do start with that massive topic surrounding Lionel Messi, I'm not going to leave you waiting on this one. We all want to know exactly how Messi is getting on right now, because alarm bells did start to ring yesterday after Messi didn't take part there in the full training with the rest of the group. He wasn't there involved in the full session, and with Cat Radio then following up on that by reporting that Messi yesterday didn't train due to muscle problems in his adductor. They then went on to say that Lionel Messi yesterday went for an MRI scan, basically to determine whether there was any damage or there was any problem and whether he'll be able to face Mallorca on the 13th of June, which I think we'd all agree, that would be dreadful news. If Messi wasn't involved, if Messi had a problem, given the way that he's come back, given the way that he's looked, the way that he's trained, it was all looking so promising. We really don't want Messi now to break down. However, I do want to come here with some positivity, because that report there is not set in stone. That has not been confirmed by the club. No official news right now has come out, but since then, both Sport and, more importantly, Alfredo Martinez of Onda Cero, who's actually a very reliable journalist, he's certainly one of the most reliable ones in and around the club, and he's come out and he said right now there is no panic inside the club. Barcelona are very calm about Messi's situation. They said right now there's no need to be too concerned. They say that yesterday Messi actually trained in the gym, he did individual work, and it was routine. There was nothing crazy, nothing different about the way that he went about his work. Sometimes you'll see it after games that players do work alone in the gym, so that's not something that's completely unheard of. And they say there, Alfredo Martinez on Onda Cero, that Messi will be in full training with the rest of the group on Friday when the squad returns to training, and that will be the big day to watch out for. Because right now, it is a bit of guesswork. We don't really know one way or another what to believe. Like I say, there's no official information. So basically, all we've got to do in this time is wait for the next training session. Now today, it's going to be a rest day. They will be back in there on Friday. And it's basically going to be a case of seeing whether Messi is with the rest of the squad. If he's there, if he's training, if he's doing the full session, I would say there that he's going to be absolutely fine. But simply, we are going to have to wait and see. But we all want Messi to be fit. We cannot afford him to return without our talisman. We need him in our team, and let's hope and pray everything is okay. I do want to move on here, though, to Eric Garcia, which is a name that you may or may not be familiar with as a Barcelona fan, but it's something I feel which is very much worth discussing, simply because he is back, reportedly, on the agenda of his former club Barcelona, with Sport coming out this morning with a big headline making there the front page, and the title reads, "Attentive to the new Piqué." That's the way here they are dubbing Eric Garcia. They say that Barcelona are keeping a very close eye on the situation there of Man City's young centre-back, who's not only been dubbed the new Gerard Piqué, but who could return to the club, mirroring the path of Gerard himself, given that Eric Garcia did come through La Masia. And I do just want to give you here a little bit of background information on Eric Garcia and also the player that he is. He is currently 19 years old, but he was born in the city of Barcelona before he actually joined up with the youth system at the age of 7, where he stayed then until 2017, meaning that Eric Garcia there spent 9 years in total at La Masia. And upon making the decision there to leave the club back in 2017 for Man City, Eric Garcia has later admitted that it was a very complicated decision both for him and his family to leave the club. He went on, though, of course, to join Pep Guardiola in Manchester in a deal there worth around 1.7 million euros that we were paid in compensation. And it was yet another highly rated youngster in the same summer that Jordi Mbula left the club for Monaco under the current board. Now, since his move to Manchester, he was very highly rated in the Barcelona youth system, and he was expected there to make a big impact under Pep Guardiola at Man City. He has gone on there to appear at a number of levels also in the Spanish national team. He was part of their under-17 2017 European Championship winning team in 2017, while he's also gone on to appear now for the Spanish under-21 side. Although I would say that in Eric Garcia's 3 seasons so far at Man City under Guardiola, I would say that he's actually appeared quite a little bit less than I would have expected him to. And I do say that lightly because at the end of the day, he is still just 19 years old and he is playing at one of the best clubs in the world who have so many options available to them, and it is difficult to give you the chance. But in the 3 seasons he spent there so far, he's made 14 appearances in total for the first team, which isn't bad, but only 6 of those coming in the Premier League, which on the face of it, like I say, isn't too bad. The guy is still just 19 years old, but I just look at it this season in particular, the problems that Man City have had at centre-back. They've had injuries there, long-term injuries to Aymeric Laporte. They've had problems there with Otamendi, problems there with John Stones, not only in injuries, but also in form. We've even seen the likes of Fernandinho and even Rodri being played at centre-back for Man City this season, and I just would have expected usually Pep to call on somebody like Eric Garcia to come into the team, to have an impact there. He really could have grown this season potentially in that team, but he started just twice in the Premier League this season, which for me is a little bit surprising. However, Pep still remains very much full of praise for the young centre-back. He praised in particular his build-up from the back, his calmness on the ball. He also spoke about the fact that Eric Garcia very rarely makes mistakes, which is very, very impressive for such a young player. And it has been reported very much so in the English media over the past few days that Man City are determined to keep hold of Eric Garcia, and they are still trying to get him to agree there to a new contract. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because according to those reports in England, Eric Garcia's contract at Man City right now is expected to expire in another 2 years, in 2022. But in the Spanish media, they have a very different idea entirely, because they say Eric Garcia's contract will actually expire in 2021, which is a very, very different story, because if that is the case, he'd be moving there right now into the final year of his deal. But either way, I think next season, it's massive for Eric Garcia's long-term future, whether that's at Man City, whether that's potentially returning to the club that he left in 2017, because next season, I feel as though if he doesn't get the game time that he's looking for, if he doesn't feel fully trusted by Man City, next summer he could either be, according to the English reports, entering the final year of his deal, or next summer, if we're going on the Spanish reports, he could be a free agent. And that would make the situation very, very interesting indeed. Because Barcelona are clearly interested there in a player who is rated so, so highly in their youth setup. And I think he also would return. I think his family there are from Barcelona. You think of him being born there, being at many, many years at La Masia. You don't lose that. You don't forget those roots. Barcelona are always going to have that place in your heart. And I do think Eric Garcia would consider returning to the club. And let's not forget either that in 2021, potentially, when that contract is expiring, Barcelona will be under a new board. No more Bartomeu. He may then look at that as an opportunity to come back, to make a name for himself at the club where he did want to succeed. Maybe before he felt the opportunities weren't going to be there. Things may be changing for the better, and we could well see a path that's not dissimilar to that of Gerard Piqué, from Barcelona to Manchester, and potentially back again. This is one, certainly, to keep an eye on. But I do want to end, guys, with that very important topic of the Barcelona wages right now, because you've undoubtedly heard some reports over the past few days surrounding more wage cuts at Barcelona, which is a big, big topic of discussion right now, both inside and outside of the club, because as we know, Barcelona have the biggest wage bill of any club in football. And I've detailed this in a number of videos in the past. We've gone through the wages step by step, and we've always said it was unsustainable. We were always verging there on a crisis, even before everything that has gone on over the past few months. Now, you remember the Barcelona players at the start of the pandemic, they agreed to cut their wages by a very, very generous 70% during the state of emergency period in Spain, in order there to help the club overcome and, quite honestly, stay afloat during the current and beyond the pandemic. However, that is about to go potentially even further, because according to reports in Spain right now, the board are currently in discussions with the players about further cuts after the state of emergency has been lifted, with a view to next season. With it being no secret right now, the club are looking for money. We're looking to try and sell players by June the 30th to raise some money that we desperately, desperately need. And right now, the board appear to have reached breaking point. They are panicking right now, and they're now having to go to the players and say, look, we actually need you to take further cuts. Because reports claim that right now, the board are currently proposing a 30% wage cut to players' wages ahead of next season, which will take effect there into the 2020 to 2021 campaign. Although I should say, right now at least, the players are not really happy with that. They're not willing to accept that sort of wage cut of 30% indefinitely. And according to AS though, Barcelona are not the only club right now who could be taking this approach. Real Madrid are also reportedly considering going down this route. And I think overall, clubs are going to struggle. Clubs are really going to struggle on this because at the end of the day, the players are just going to turn around and they're going to say, look, there's my contract. You gave it to me. You handed it to me. You signed on the dotted line. We have an agreement. You can't break that now. We don't have to do anything. And even despite everything that's gone on, I think the players will still feel as though that contract should be honoured. And it is a difficult one because I think many of us would turn around and say, you know what, these players are on huge money. I'm talking about absolutely incredible sums of money that they get every single week. And as we've spoken about before, it is too high. Some of them shouldn't be on the wages they're on. So maybe you'd look at it there to try and take some cuts. Maybe you'd feel as though they should take a step back and help the club in this time. But I would also look on the other hand too. I would say to the board, how did you allow it to get in this situation? Because it's not just because of the pandemic. They can't just blame here the current situation. If anything, they might be using that here to try and get some cuts. That's what they've needed to do for some time now. These contracts should never have been given out. We shouldn't have been given many of these players the kind of wages they're on. It was always going to be unsustainable, and eventually it was always going to catch up with them, and now they're feeling the effects of that. Of course, the pandemic has accelerated things. It's made things even worse than they already were, but this was a problem that's been going on now for quite some time, and it's over to the board to try to find some resolution. So that there, guys, is where we stand right now in terms of Barcelona news. Lionel Messi, like I say, very interested to see whether he does appear in training tomorrow. Please, we need to see him back, and we need to see him firing against Mallorca on that opening day. Let's hope he's okay. We don't want to take any risks. Please let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below on everything we have discussed in today's video. Would you like to see Eric Garcia back at the club? And do you feel as though the players should be taking those further cuts? Let me know all of those thoughts in the comments down below. I will see you soon with more videos. But until next time, as always, Visca el Barça.